this former piece of Coluna is still there, but it's not no vegetation on it anymore because the wind blasted it all out. So if I paid attention to a specific point here, right here, I paid attention to this spot right here, it changes from sandberry to Coluna to bare patch. And then once the Coluna and sandberry had grown across the heath, I'd get a new bit of Coluna establishing here, another sandberry establishing right next to it, and then these would chase each other across the heath as well. Is that okay? All right. Let's take a look at a couple of these where we're now going to see if we can figure out what's going on based on these different models. All right, so let's start here with secondary succession in the Piedmont region of North Carolina. So North Carolina, currently, tobacco production has been decreasing in the U.S. As you decrease tobacco production, these fields are being pushed through this facilitated succession model. So here, if colonization is by white aster and ragweed, two species, then we would go from there into a facilitated succession model that would take us to broom sedge and pine, to loblolly pine. Let's just look at that far. That's 10 years worth of abandonment. On the other hand, if horseweed moves in before white aster or ragweed, so I have this bare field, whatever seeds get there first predict what happens. If white aster and ragweed gets there first, boom, secondary succession model facilitated. If crabgrass and horseweed get there first, boom, inhibition. This is the final stage because it inhibits these from moving in, which prevents the rest of them from moving in. So within this field, we have two models operating. Facilitated succession if these colonize, inhibition if these guys colonize. Okay? And then here at the end is kind of interesting as well. If loblolly pine moves in, then we could end up with loblolly pine as the final climax group of species, right? Or we could get other species beginning to move in, the white oaks, the dogwoods, and the hickories. And on our chart, they're labeling this as random colonization, meaning what the community looks like after 150 years depends on what happened here and what happened here. Which species colonized, that leads us to the final successional model. So in North Carolina, it's not like it is in Pennsylvania where eastern hemlock and white pine are the successional climax species. In the Piedmont, it really depends on who colonizes. All of these can be climax species. It depends on who gets there first. Okay? All right, let's take a look at this one. There's open space, shrub colonizes, birds and rodents drop cactus seeds. So we're out here in the Pacific Southwest. The cactus seeds grow, and the cactus needs to grow under the shrub. The shrub is blocking a lot of the light from the cactus. This particular species of cactus does a lot better, right, early on if it has the light blocked. All right, the cactus roots develop near the surface here because cacti are not as deeply rooted. It means when it's raining, the cacti get first grab at the water, the shrub doesn't get enough water, and it dies. But because the shrub has better root systems than cacti do, cacti have very lousy root systems, which means the shrub is what's holding the sand in place and preventing erosion. Once the shrub dies, now you get erosion the cacti roots are exposed and the cactus dies. And now we're back to open space. That's a cyclic climax, right? We end up back where we were until a new shrub colonizes, and then we start the process over again. Okay? Here's another example of this cyclic climax. Waves of regeneration in balsam fir near Mount Katahdin in Maine. If I followed these lines over time, they would move across the landscape as new species colonized behind them, etc., etc. And then here for you microbiology people, biofilm formations. Once you take micro, if you've already had it, they'll talk a little bit about those. You have a group of bacteria that exist in what they call the planktonic phase, where they're colonizers. They colonize the substrata. You get another group of species colonizing, and then another group of species colonizing. This looks to me like facilitated succession, where I begin with an initial group of species until I have a group of species existing in the self-renewing stage, the climax community, which would be a group of microorganisms existing in that biofilm. Okay? All right, I'm going to go ahead and take a break here, and then when we come back, we're going to do a little bit more with species diversity. All right, see you in a bit.